and welcome to FinextraTV. I'm Hannah Wallace, and kindly joining me in the studio today is Dean Clark and Alex Selwood from GFT. Hello to the both of you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Really good to have you on at the start of the year, kicking it off well. And I want to begin our discussion today by reflecting really on this wave of digital transformation that we've seen of late, and also how banks have had to really evolve to keep up with changing consumer demands. So, Dean, kick us off, would you, and bring us up to date. How are you seeing the UK market today, especially in the current climate?
Okay, it's a very interesting time at the moment. The economy is obviously going through some turmoil. We've got extremely high interest rates. We've got higher than usual inflation. We've got the midst of, I suppose, a recession. So lots of businesses at the moment are obviously trying to cut their costs. We're seeing all of the big tech vendors like the Googles, the Amazons, etc., starting to slash their workforces. Banks are starting to follow suit. So we're seeing some of the big American banks also trimming down. And one of the interesting things there is that this all comes at a time when the customers are really looking at trying to get more help from these big institutions. They need more help managing their money. They need better tools to support them managing their money. And I think what we're seeing now is a trend of the existing challenger banks really hitting the mark. So the Monzos, the Starlings of this world, they've been producing those tools in their application for a while. And we're now starting to see the bigger UK banks starting to pivot themselves to try and also help the customer in this way. So I think they're the really big changes. And what we feel is that it's important for GFT to understand what those trends are so that we can assist those banks, which is one of the reasons that we've obviously gone out and done this research with the banking index.
Well, that's right. We'll hear more about that as well. So, Alex, if you could come in and tell us, how does that all tie in with GFT's new Banking Disruption Index?
Well, as Dean just mentioned, we've been running this research for the last 2 quarters, and really the Banking Disruption Index is there as a baseline measure for us to start to really understand consumer attitude towards digital services and digital banks, but also what are the traditional banks offering that the consumers are liking, not liking. You know, on the whole, there's definitely a trend towards consumers wanting more digital services from banks, not less. However, when it comes to human contact, whether that's via the phone or visiting in branch, that still has a major role to play, especially amongst the older demographics. And Dean mentioned there is a high proportion of consumers, about actually over 50%, who want banks to be more proactive in offering tools and actually support and help when they feel like they're starting to run into a little bit of financial trouble.
All right, that's interesting. So you've set the scene there, and it is interesting, but I assume that delivering faster, more innovative solutions might still be more challenging for the traditional banks still. Is that still the case, Dean?
To a degree it is. So, I mean, obviously we've heard, as I've mentioned previously, there's a couple of banking organisations there that they're cloud native. They've been in the cloud for a while. They're able to adapt very quickly. They're agile. They've got no legacy systems at all. So if they spot a trend in the market or understand the needs of their customers, they can very quickly pivot to produce the features that are in demand. Because of that, obviously that's led to an increase in customer base. They're starting to really make inroads into those markets. The larger banks, they've got a lot of legacy, they've got a lot of red tape. They don't just offer current accounts, so some of those new challengers are quite limited in their product set, whereas the older organisations tend to offer, credit cards, loans, mortgages on top of that, and that makes it a bit more of a challenge from a technology and business perspective to be able to pivot as quickly. So it's starting to get better. I mean, GFT have actually worked with a number of banks. I mean, Mox Bank is one of those, Al Rajhi Bank, Trust Bank. They're examples of where we've built a new bank almost side by side the existing organisation, which means they can continue to run the BAU, but then once they've built that new digital bank with the new brand, obviously they can start realising those benefits a lot quicker, and building in that way enables them to again then pivot just like the existing challenger banks. So that's one way that we've seen where it is possible for the large banks to adapt.
All right, thanks for that, Dean. So what other innovations are possible then? What are you seeing the consumers ask for, and indeed, what do they need in today's climate? Alex?
That's a really great question. We've in this latest piece of research, we've seen some very clear trends and some very specific asks that will help consumers manage their money better. There's 4 top features that have really come out. Flagging upcoming bills. Do I have enough money in my account to cover those bills? What are my daily and weekly insights in terms of where is my money actually going? As well as getting instant notifications on the transactions that are being made. And whilst consumers are really enjoying the fact that we have these banking apps that gives us very easy, fast access to our transactions, we're also seeing that almost 80% of those consumers actually have a growing anxiety over checking their finances. So I think there's a really big opportunity there for whether it's new banks or existing banks to maybe put a little bit of extra thought into some of those tools and services that are going to be offered to consumers to help them keep on top of those finances. And also make sure that they're staying empathetic and caring towards those people who might be experiencing a little bit more financial distress. So there's a couple of things to look out for there.
That's right. And the relationship between banks and the consumers has never been more important, has it? So, Dean, off the back of that then, how do you see the industry changing and transforming in the next 2 years, say?
Okay, so there's a number of ways I think that we're going to see some transformation in the sector. Clearly, we've seen the disruptors come in, we've seen the new challenger banks rise up, and the way that they've been more digitally native, they've been able to change to the customer's needs quicker. I think we are starting to have those conversations, or we're seeing the larger banks come and talk to us because they want to adopt the position where we can go and help them build a side-by-side bank. They can then get that platform, really, that they can start to add in all of their services. They're looking for an expert to come in that can help integrate some of these third-party SaaS solutions. We're starting to see some of the traditional core banking platform organisations like your Thought Machines, like your Mamboos, they're starting to really improve their software. We've noticed there's a new entrant to the market as well, which is a really good software as a service banking innovative platform from Starling called Engine. I think that's going to be making some waves in the industry over the next 2 years, certainly.
All right, thanks, Dean. Some great examples there and a lot to look forward to. Now, taking all of that into account then, I think it's safe to conclude that consumers definitely want more digital services, and the banks that can provide those will be the ones to succeed. But what specific capabilities and indeed muscle do clients need to transform their businesses now compared to before? Alex?
Delivering cutting-edge solutions requires experience, technical skills in new cloud-based technologies, as well as focusing on platform innovation that is very different to existing legacy tech. It also requires strong partnerships. We've worked with a number of trusted partners, people like AWS and Thought Machine, to deliver leading and award-winning banking solutions. But if it's not those specific partners, then our main focus is to make sure that we're addressing the right customer problems. And to do that, we'll continue to build a broader partner network to make sure that we're able to deliver those joint solutions that address the customer problems.
That's right, and those networks are crucial for success, aren't they? The key is partnerships. But look, we'll leave it there for now. Thank you so much for joining us today, and really looking forward to catching up further down the line.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for having us.